I'm a massive fan of dry flies, and I've got some particular favourites. Quite a few you'll have seen on here. But I'm a great believer in colouring dry flies, and quite often I'll mix up my own blend, and this is one in particular. Now this fly is a really old fly, and it's one that's kind of fell out of favour, but however, when it comes to trapped insects in the surface film, this thing takes some beating. Now I call this Rutland Raider. Now it's actually based on a raider, which is a buzzer pattern, and you can tie a raider with with legs or without legs. I like it with legs, so it looks like a kind of like a hopper, but it sits just in the surface film, very much like a Bob's Bits, but it's got a bit of a larger profile, so it works really well for terrestrials. Also works well for midge. But the key for this pattern for me is this blend of I call this my Rutland blend, and it's a mix of red, sunburst yellow and orange, and that's how I get this colour here. Simple fly to tie, but one that's devastatingly effective. But what I would say is when you're fishing flies like this, smaller delicate dry flies, fish it on a long leader and fish it on its own. You didn't need two flies when you're fishing dry flies, especially when you've got the opportunity of catching a big fish. The last thing you want is a dropper or a point fly bouncing about when you're playing a fish on your other fly. So that's just a little thing to bear in mind. The one thing I haven't done, so I'm just going to get this out so we're ready, is this stuff. Okay. So let's go ahead and tie the fly. I start always with a good hook. Now this is a really lightweight hook, but it's also very strong. This is a 12. This is a Hanak 230 BL. Barbless. A lot of my dry flies are barbless. Because I'm fishing quite a light tippet, I can pull the hook home without any fear. However, if I had a barb on there, I'd really be having to pull it home. And with thin tippet, it just doesn't work. So I've got some Danville's brown wax thread, favourite thread of mine. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in behind the eye, and I'm going to come all the way down, quite a long body on this, right down and starting to go round the bend. Back up in open turns, and then I've got good old fashioned Antron body wheel. You can use floss, but I like this stuff, it's very buoyant. I'm just going to take a single length of that, and that's going to be my breathers, if you like. Now what I'll do here is I come a little bit behind the eye. If you watch this, I'll do a pinch and loop here, but I'll quickly show you this. When I pull this back, I've got enough space to tie off, and I want that space to tie off because I want this to kick up, so that's why that's there. Let's take all that off. I come in at an angle, a steep angle, and I trim off the excess. Now I use this as a marker, because the whole point of raiders is this bulbous thorax, which we'll show you. Come down, and just around the bend there, I've got this coppery brown holographic. Love the stuff, especially on surface flies. And I'm just going to catch that in flush with the hook shank. Again, just a little bit around the bend. Now you can, if you want, use wax. However, I'm quite happy. I can just wet my fingers and then I can make it work. So I'll just quickly show you how I do this. You'll notice I'm starting for the thorax down. That's because I want to come back through with my threads to make it a little bit more secure. So catch myself, nice bit of seal's fur mix there, my Rutland blend. And this section's quite thin, certainly way thinner than the thorax. So just create a really tight rope there, and I wind from the thorax down. Okay, so you can see that I've got my body. I then come up with tight thread wraps through the seal's fur. What I always do when I'm dealing with stuff like this, I always put a little hitch in, so stick a hitch in. before I go through with the holographic, I like to pull some of this out. Now because I've got so much thread in there really tightly, I can get away with pulling a lot out. Like so. And then all I do is I come up, and opposite turns to the winding turns the seals fur. I'll get 3 in here, possibly 4. There's 3, evenly spaced. There's 4, and I'm onto the thorax. And then just lock off with some thread wraps there. And with the scissors, and again I always give it another little pull through, get some of the fibres out. Most of the work's going to be done by the thorax area, which I'll show you. So now we come in. These are optional, you don't need them. I like it on the fly. So I've got some knotted pheasant tail legs, and I'll usually get a handful, 3 or 4 either side. So take a generous wee pinch here, and I'm going to try and splay them so I can split them over the back of the fly. So if I come in, and I want a little bit longer than the fly. Now if I tie these in, they should start to splay. If they don't, I just come in with my thumb and forefinger and work them to either side. I'll quickly show you that. Just work them to either side. Back, secure. And then come down. Don't worry if these kick out, because we've got to sort them. Very much like tying the Midas, we can sort these. So you come back up, in with the scissors, and trim that off. So our thorax is going to be a little bit thicker. Well, actually quite a big bit thicker. So I'm getting a generous pinch of seals fur. I'm going to dip that on. Nice and tight, nice and tight, nice and tight, nice and tight, nice and tight. Don't be scared to get some on there. It's like, I see people tying the Midas and it's so skinny. One of my mates tied the original, Paul Davison, and he popularised the fly. And there's a very specific way of tying it, and people get it wrong time and time again. So for my thorax, again, like I did with the body, I'm going to start behind the eye, and I'm going to work my way down. So that's one lot of thorax. I'm going to come up through again, and down through again. So you can see I've got a really bulbous thorax area. However, I'm through my thread again, back up towards the eye. Okay, so I've still got that bulbous thorax, but I've got myself up towards the eye. Now what I do, I moisten my fingers and pull everything back out of the way. And you see I've still got that space behind the eye. You see that there? Space behind the eye. Just come in, make sure no fibres get in the way. If they do, just pull them out. And then all we're going to do is clip finish. Again, make sure the fibres are out of the way. You just take a little bit of varnish on there. However, with this thread, I find once you've done it, it's pretty much done. So what I'll do is, with the Antron breathers, I'll bring these halfway back across the thorax before I cut them. So halfway across the thorax, that's halfway there. And there's your breathers. You can, if you wish, pull some more fibres out, because you've got the security of that thread there. You're laughing basically, it won't do anything. It'll keep everything nice and solid. Any fibres that are a little bit longer than the legs, just pull them off. And there you go. That's my Raider. But I call that my Rutland Raider. And the reason I call it my Rutland Raider is because the blend, it's such a good colour on there. Great fly for sunny days, great fly for terrestrials. The Rutland Raider. I really hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. Plenty more great fly time videos in there, and some good fishing videos. Thanks again. Cheers. Bye bye.